could run this city, one gang, nothing would move without us allowing it to happen. We could tax the crime syndicates, the police, because we got the streets, suckers! Can you dig it?
This is the Filmy McFilm Film Show.
There's sort of three things I remember whenever I think of the Warriors. I think of the final scene on the beach.
Yes.
I think of the baseball furies.
Yeah.
And I think of Cyrus. And I think of him first. Like, he's always my image of the movie, is him delivering that crazy, cool speech just before he gets shot. And before we get even into the movie, I was kind of thinking, I nearly want an alternative universe spin-off movie where he doesn't get shot. And because what was their plan exactly? Like, what were they going to do? Because they even said, he even mentioned we could control the mobs.
So basically, I think his plan was to unite all the gangs.
No, I get that, but what does that world look like?
I don't know, really.
Like, what was the end game? What was their plan? What are they going to do?
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you're right. Like,
No, it might make sense, but I'm just kind of like interested in, like, I nearly feel like it would be a cool spin-off Netflix series.
Yeah.
Where alternative universe of the Warriors, or just set it in this universe in general, but alternative universe of the Warriors where Cyrus never gets shot, and we see what life looks like where they actually do unite the gangs.
But surely it must be Carnage, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose, like, they could control the city pretty much.
Yeah, surely, like, if the street gangs took over the cops, it's going to be Carnage, because, let's be honest, you do need some sort of law and order in the world. Like, I think...
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, and as I was when I was watching it this time, I was still loving it because I love this movie, but I was thinking a few times that, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older.
Yeah.
But I was kind of thinking, sometimes I was kind of like, I don't like the Warriors. I don't like a lot of the characters. Like, I don't really like the gangs. Because half the time I was kind of thinking, like, look at these losers, man. Like, why are you dressed up like that? Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're a grown man.
Well, they're going around the majority of gangs are going, baseball furies are cool, as you said.
Very cool, but probably the worst fighters in the whole thing.
Oh, that one geezer.
They get the shit kicked out.
The one geezer from the Warriors, who was
Ajax.
In my opinion, kind of annoying.
Which one are you talking about, sir?
The one that was wearing like leather gloves, that was just basically like a boxer.
The one who was like vying for leadership with Swan.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Or was it War Chief?
Yeah, War Chief. Who makes you the War Chief, kind of thing. But the saddest thing about the opening sequence is obviously Cyrus getting shot because he's trying to like unite all the gangs.
Which, by the way, apparently was based on a real thing.
Did that happen?
Where he wasn't uniting them. I don't think he was attempting to unite New York gangs to work together necessarily, but more to stop the level of killings that was happening.
Yeah.
And he did get shot and killed. But I think the gangs did still go ahead with sort of the setup. I don't know how successful it was. And another thing, he allegedly, the actor that played Cyrus stepped in on the day because the original person who was gonna play him on the day of the shoot, when he was supposed to show up for the day of the shoot, went missing and was never seen again.
Wow. That's good facts, man.
So I don't know what the fuck happened there.
But
yeah, so we have Cyrus gives his amazing speech, and the dude from Commando, who Arnold Schwarzenegger throws off a cliff after he says, remember when I said I'd let you live? I lied. Whoever the fuck that guy is, I love that actor. He shoots Cyrus and blames the Warriors, and everything turns into carnage. Everyone's running this way and that way. The police show up, start arresting people, and the Warriors kind of ditch their leader to die, but they don't know yet that they're being blamed.
I was about to say that. Like, that was the saddest thing about this whole thing. Their leader was just taking people out. Like, he was just like...
Yeah, he was quite... Because he was clearly as well...
Karate.
Well, he was clearly sad. Like, he ran over, and he was one of the few people to actually run over to Cyrus.
Yeah.
And you could tell in the opening montage where the warriors are all headed there, it introduces them all, giving them short clips. And it basically... It uses it as a device to set up for the audience where we're headed and why we're headed there. But it also kind of gives each individual member of the Warriors stance on the thing. And clearly, the leader, what's his name again? Cleon.
Poor Cleon, he was a good fighter, man.
I think he was kind of set up like he was the best fighter. But he obviously gets killed straight away. But he runs over to Cyrus's body when he's shot, when everyone else goes the other way. And you could tell he was smart as well, because he immediately says, run against the crowd.
Yeah.
For the reason, obviously, of, like, don't end up with the mass. Like, we'll sneak off. But, so he gets killed. He gets surrounded and mobbed and killed because the dude from... Commando says...
what's the name of their gang?
I'm trying to remember.
I think
what
it's
is
like
it?
the Ruffs or something.
The name of that band. Is it Luther? Yeah, Luther.
Yeah, but they had like... Because I remember there was one scene where they was like robbing a newsagents, essentially.
Yeah.
And you see the name of their...
He throws a chocolate bar.
Yeah, and he was like, we don't pay for nothing.
He said, pay for what?
Yeah, pay for what? But then, essentially after the main guy dies from the Warriors, it turns into like a chase film.
The whole film's a chase movie.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Like, even what version did you watch? Because I accidentally... Basically, there's two versions. There's the original version.
Yeah.
And then the director did a re-release with only a minute added in, but it actually changes the style of it quite a bit.
Right.
Because he had these comic book style transitions between the scenes.
I didn't see that.
So that's the one I watched today, and I got to admit, I hated it. Like, it completely just spoils the movie for me.
No, my one was the original one.
And it also, he added in a opening credit scroll where it talks about the ancient Spartans when they were being chased by the Persians. And it talks about how this is based on that, which I actually liked that bit of it. That kind of gave the whole... It was like a Star Wars opening credit scroll, but more... It wasn't giving you the setup of, what this universe is like with the Warriors and the different gangs. It was describing just that it was based on this story. It was quite... I actually like that bit, but the comic book transitions stink. Like, I really don't like it.
So basically like a 300 kind of film.
Yeah, basically sets out in that way. Yeah,
us against everyone kind of thing, like.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Warriors kick their way through those a random fence and get away. And I forgot, actually, they don't even realise everyone else is out for them.
No, they don't have a clue.
Ages throughout the movie. Yeah. So they're on the run and they start to get... And from there it becomes a series of set pieces. They get split up further after a certain point. It's once... it's a little bit later, actually, once they get attacked by the police. But it becomes a series of set pieces where they're trying to get home, and there's a series of traps that the other gangs in New York are trying to set for them to stop them. They try and get on the subway at one point.
All led by the cool lady who never sees face.
Oh, the chick in the radio, doing the radio show.
She does it all in code, like... We're looking for these cool cats.
Yeah. And you say lady, but it's just a pair of lips.
Well, yeah, it could be a man, but I highly doubt it. But that was very stylish. Like,
yeah, it was cool. It was that set, like, there was great... The movie was just... It kind of was set up, like, once the writer and director figured out what they wanted to do and how the narrative was going to work, it must have been so easy and fun to write. Because essentially... Once you have the cool opening, that sets the whole premise, and then you can pretty much just sit around working out an endless list of ways of what's a cool gang they could run into? Where could they run into? And what could the scenario be? How could they be split up? Maybe a cop suddenly is chasing them, or someone comes out of here. And then you have it broken up by the radio chick doing her announcements, kind of like letting the audience also know. And then you have it cutting back to the riffs doing their thing.
So, my question to you is, when did you first stumble across the Warriors? When did you see it? Was it just on TV that you came across it?
I actually can't remember. I watched it ages ago, and I remember not... I watched it in a sleep... Like, I was falling asleep as I was watching it. I think it was really, really late. It was definitely on TV, because it was kind of like I was pretty young. It was like when I didn't know how to stream, or streaming was really a thing. I can't remember. And I've just watched it a bunch of times throughout the years.
Because I'll tell you a story. This is one of the...
To be honest, it's probably a film I'd be more likely to watch, like, either the first half of or the second half of, rather than the whole way through.
This is one of the films, many, many films that we used to have on our... Well, you've been around my house. The bookshelf, which is... Used to have...
Stacked with movies.
Not DVDs, VHSs.
Yeah.
And then my dad got it out once. It was like all dusty. I was like, let's watch The Warriors. I was like, what's The Warriors? And I thought at the time, this is class. Like, it's one of the best films. Blue sort of video cover with like red writing, like the start where it's like the red writing across. And I thought it was one of the best films I've ever seen. Like,
it is weird because it is the aesthetic of cartoon, a kids show.
Yeah.
But it is pretty grimy. Like, people get killed.
Oh yeah.
People get there's attempted rapes in the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Someone gets just crushed by a train. People get set on fire. Like, it's really violent and graphic and fucked up. But it is weird. You don't not take it seriously, even though it's so goofy looking at points.
But that kind of captures like New York at the time, because it really was a cesspit, wasn't it? Like,
it was disgusting.
Like, no one wanted to go there.
Supposedly.
I remember there was like a Simpsons episode where they had to go to New York, and he was like, I don't want to go. And he comes out of the train station and he gets robbed like instantly, like Homer. Like, it didn't look like a very good place to go, but...
Well, apparently it was fucked up trying to film it as well. Like, they had to hire gangs, as in paid gangs, to protect him from other gangs that would just show up to see, because local gangs would be hearing that there's a film about gangs getting shown, and they would just show up to like see what's going on, / heckle, / rob them, intimidate them, just for the fuck of it. So then they had to pay, and when you say pay, it's like pay him to protect him, but it's extortion.
Extortion, basically,
I can't remember, it was some like specific gang in different areas. In fact, because obviously the Warriors are from Coney Island, but supposedly whatever gang was actually dominant in real life in Coney Island said that if they saw anyone wearing a Warriors jacket around, they would kill them.
Right.
So no one was allowed off set wearing the costume. I mean, I don't know why you would anyway.
Well, not that, because it's not. They don't even have butts. They're just running around.
Which is another thing. It's so like, it really is so goofy at times.
Yeah,
like it's nearly less goofy when you do see some of the gangs like the Baseball Furies.
Oh yeah, they're class.
But because they're so dressed up and so over the top and so like cartoonish, it kind of looks. You forget about it. It's just like fine in the context of the movie. But some of them, when they're just kind of like, a gang that hasn't had that much detail and put into them, they're kind of like a background gang. So they'll just be like a gang who we wear white vests, and short jean shorts, and they just look so.
What was that?
It looks like the Village People at times.
The one that I always think about is the Loser Gang.
Like, I want to talk about
right,
so
we'll
the
get
orphans.
onto them.
The orphans. So that's kind of like the first gang they run into, and they're such pathetic little losers, man. The leader of the gang, he's got like that wonky eye, and he's so insecure. Like his whole thing, first of all, is him being like, "What do you mean there was a meetup we weren't invited to?" Saying like pretty much everything the other person says the response is always on the defensive, where he's just assuming like, oh, you think we're losers, because they are losers.
Well, the leader of the gang's actually the girl. Like, she's the one that basically tells him what.
You definitely wasn't the leader of the gang, but who did you think she was today? I couldn't tell if, like, is that supposed to be his sister?
I think that's
his sister.
I think that's his girlfriend, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I think she just kind of like, it wasn't too important what she was.
She's milling about the street. She's sick of him. He's pathetic. Like.
Yeah, and she causes problems immediately because they're getting through fine, and then she pokes him with a stick a couple of times, saying, "What kind of man are you, letting people walk through here?" And he immediately then tries to wag his dick about.
Yeah, he like whistles and it's like, "You know what that is? Back up." And like,
well, he starts telling them, "Take off your
oh yeah,
your
just
jacket.
Go through it naked. We don't do that."
Which, by the way, got me thinking because I was laughing as I was watching it. Thinking, like, that's so stupid, like, why would a gang ever do that? And then I realised, like, as in, have uniforms and have your names written on your jackets. And then I realised motorcycle gangs all do that. And they are legit gangs. They're some of the most dangerous gangs.
Hell's Angels.
Like, how weird is that, though, that they actually advertise that they're in a gang? No other gangs do that.
Because they're not, to be honest...
Actually, what am I talking about? The Bloods and the Crips literally wear specific colours.
And do the signs. They're not scared of anyone, man.
I suppose, it's not... I mean, it's obviously exaggerated, but it's not actually that stupid and far from reality as you think.
But the orphans, well, just don't have anything. They just have green shirts and
the worst uniform ever.
Like tucked into their jeans.
Pea green top.
Yeah.
And fucking, like, Daisy Dukes or whatever they're wearing.
Pathetic, like...
Yeah, and then they don't even fight him. They throw a petrol bomb.
And then just run off. Like.
The warriors throw a petrol bomb at a car near him and trying to, like, just distract him and then leg it.
But they had, well, to be honest, the warriors had, at this time, only 8 people, I think. So, like, their numbers were
8 or 9, yeah.
Mad, like. They probably wouldn't have won that fight. I reckon they could have.
No, they would have. They would have battered him.
Yeah, like, 1 to 2, yeah.
So they run onto the subway. And they make it one stop before there's a fire set up at the next station, and they have to get off. And this is when they run into... Is it the Baseball Furies?
I think so, it is, yeah.
Yeah, so they get... Wait. Or is it the cops?
See, this is very confusing because most of it's set in the subway.
Yeah, and it all looks the same. It's all filmed at night.
There's 3 different things. There's the Baseball Furies at one. There's the cops at another, where he throws the truncheon and it, like, floors one of them. And the third one is when they meet all the birds. And they're like, oh, yes, like, let's go.
No, they get off there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they do fight the Baseball Furies. They do, because they get back together after the fight.
Yeah, so they go to the Baseball Furies with cool makeup.
Cool makeup, absolutely get the shit kicked out of them.
They get battered.
I mean, they show up. They've got way more numbers and they have baseball bats. And they get the shit kicked out of them. Like, there's no excuse.
They run to a park and basically I don't know the guy's name. Ajax starts battering like 3 or 4.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of them. You do get the impression that he's vying for leadership with Swan, who's like the main... He's the main guy who kind of just assumes leadership after Cleon is killed in the opening, who is the leader of the Warriors. He becomes war chief kind of like unofficially, and then when what's his name, Ajax sort of he challenges it right at the start when they first got away from the big crowd. He challenges him,
what makes
and
you war chief, blah, blah, blah.
Everyone kind of sides with Swan because Swan's clearly the smarter guy. He's stoic and kind of like keeping his head on his shoulders. Ajax is just... He's either all he talks about is fighting or fucking the whole movie. That's all he's interested. Even when it's like they're running for their lives, if he sees a woman, he's like, "Oh, maybe I should just like try and rape her really quickly. Then we'll get away." So he's a bit of a retard, but he's clearly the best fighter. Like he's absolutely...
So you can't get rid of him.
He's hard as that. Well, So he beats the shit out of the Baseball Furies, and they regroup. And they get on the subway again.
Get back on the subway, yeah.
And I think they make it one stop. Or they might not even make it a stop. I think they're waiting to leave. And they hear those footsteps approaching, and it turns out it's the police, and they all
loads of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so they all kind of get, and this is when they properly get separated until pretty much the end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know the fella that gets rolled onto the tracks?
Yeah, he gets pushed over.
He got written out of the movie because he was supposed to survive to the end.
Right.
But he got pissed over something, some sort of like, they changed the script. I think originally he was the one that was going to get with the chick.
Right.
And it changed to Swan for whatever reason. And he got so annoyed that he just quit and walked off set.
Less screen time, innit?
Yeah, but still a bit of a weird reaction. So anyway, the person in that scene is a body double. Right. And apparently, I didn't concentrate because I didn't know this until after I watched it today, but when they're running about from the cops, he's kind of like running like this, but when you know it's a body double, you realise he's doing it in a way to cover his face.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was funny. But that was my favourite death scene as well in the whole movie.
Yeah, so he just gets rolled over.
Or he just gets fucking
coincidentally
thrown in front of the train.
9:21 or whatever time it is was coming at that exact time. Not late.
You know the train?
Huh?
What do you mean 9:21?
Well, what I'm saying is he got rolled over to the track.
Oh, right, yeah.
Train weren't delayed, like
yeah.
Great Northern, bang.
Oh.
That was horrible death. Might have been quick.
Also, what do you reckon people would have been fit? Like, if you were just a random person strolling home.
You're just waiting for the train.
You're trying to get the train, like, fires are getting set off. Fucking people dressed as mimes and shit are running past, and, like, gangs. And
I would have got an Uber.
You would have been freaking out.
If the Uber was available, I'd be like, fuck this. I'm out of here. Like, and then they get away from the cops, seemingly throughout this whole film, the cops are just too bob. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah, they probably didn't know what the fuck was happening.
They can't seem to capture them. Good slow motion shot where he throws a truncheon and just trips the guy up, and then they just get out.
You think in that scene as well, I don't know if it was both during filming that sequence, but the girl who, what's her name? Deborah something. The girl that plays Mercy, anyway. Yeah. She had her wrist broken in one sequence, and also had a baseball bat hitting her in the face in another sequence that she needed stitches for.
Right.
So I think halfway through the movie, you see her suddenly wearing a jacket, and she never takes off again. And it was to cover up the cast and bandages she had around her wrist.
So they was actually really like launching baseball bats at each other.
Yeah, I don't know what scene that happened in when he was. It was obviously just one of the things after the baseball Furies when they were carrying the bats around after beating the crap out of them. But anyway, so they get separated, and we have we've got the sequence where a few of the characters end up with the Lizzies.
Oh yeah, these little honey traps.
Yeah,
basically.
So they go back there and they're basically thinking, "Oh sweet, we're gonna have sex.
Yeah,
just stay here tonight, get drunk, fuck these girls." And you fought the what's his name? The character Snow.
Yeah,
he's the guy that's always tagging the W everywhere, isn't he?
Look, I think he is gay because throughout this whole scene. Is it in a pub? Is it in a...
No, it's in their sort of dive that they all seem to live in.
I think before that, the Lizzies were saying to him, the Warriors were saying to him, "Oh, you must have boyfriends. All you girls have boyfriends." It's one of the best lines I've heard. Like, they're all limps. They're real cripples.
She said.
Yeah, I was like, right.
No, but hold on. Why do you think he's gay?
The reason I'm saying that is because they go in... let's be honest, he's quite effeminate.
Yeah.
He's very effeminate.
I did think that. And I actually know what you mean in retrospect. Because when he's in the Lizzie's place, he doesn't seem interested in the women. And maybe it's just because he's smart and he's on edge and he doesn't trust it. But he does... I do know what you mean. Like, I kind of wondered after you said that, like, maybe that was just a little... thing they wrote into the character.
The whole film, the kind of like...
Only to hint at.
No, the whole film, the kind of warriors were kind of like, have taken him under their wing, and he doesn't really get involved in any of the fights. The whole time he just runs off. and they seem quite protective of him. I don't know. I don't know how he got into the gang.
I assumed it was just like he was the little
weakest link.
Or just the new guy and the young guy and but I kind of see what you mean. I don't know if it's actually that, because it'd be interesting if maybe that was originally going to be brought up more, hinted at more, but they just wrote it out or didn't have time.
I was thinking.
But one thing that's funny about that is because obviously Ajax is homophobic, and they probably all are homophobic.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's funny where you look at the characters they're pretty sexist, they're violent, they're homophobic, but none of them are racist. They all seem to have the only, probably way more unrealistic than the crazy outfits and types of gangs that are in it is the fact that you have completely interracial gangs. Every gang is completely interracial, more or less.
Well, let's be honest. They all flock to this thing to see Cyrus, and he's like apparently the Messiah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my point is like that. They're virtually a no interracial gang.
Yeah.
All gangs are pretty much divided down racial lines.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying about this, what's his name? The guy that.
Snow.
Yes. So they go into the Lizzie's little den, is it? And like all the guys again with the birds, he's kind of like he's kind of like fritting around, like just worrying, biting his nails, and then of course, luckily, he just shouts out, "They're packing."
Yeah, well, he clocks, but the girl behind him starts locking the door.
Yeah.
And it is that classic thing of it's like, imagine if you were actually about to ambush someone who was just like, you're pretending to chill. Say we were doing it in here, like we were having a drink with some people who were about to like attack. Your heart would be pounding, you'd be like, holy shit. Maybe you'd give it away that way. But I love the idea that, imagine I was going to the door to lock it and then I started smiling at you really obviously. And then you started like laughing as you pulled out your gun. Like, you just wouldn't do it that way. But anyway, he notices. And they beat the shit out of him.
Mate, I know this was made in whatever time, but they start lamping the birds. Yeah. They're like flying about.
Yeah, it was self-defense.
And the thing I don't understand is like, look, all these, they don't know this at this point, but all these gangs are trying to get this gang for murdering Cyrus. Like, this is America. This is New York, yeah? Why are you going into your little like room and taking baseball bats off the wall? Just grab a gun.
No, but do you remember, some of them do have guns by the end, but no one was supposed to bring weapons to the meeting.
I'm sure these are gangs, so they can hide them around.
No, but that's the point. Probably a couple of people did, but one of them did and ended up shooting Cyrus.
The Lizzies had them?
Well, they had them in their house. Like, I'm sure some of them were going back and grabbing things. I mean, the Baseball Furies ran home and grabbed their baseball bats, so they obviously weren't. But yeah, certain people did though. Like the Lizzies had it because they were in their home.
And by the way, how shit are they at shooting? Like literally, they're trying to run out. One lady's got their gun and just goes. She's firing like the whole.
Well, I think what's he called? The sort of Italian fella.
Oh,
who's pretty funny. He was supposed to die in that scene, but they changed their mind, I think, because they liked the character.
Right.
They liked the way the guy was, the actor was playing him.
It's basically like, it reminded me of like early James Bonds. You know when like James Bond is like running around and there 100 people are shooting him. He's like, yes, I'm Bond. And he just dodges
like Austin Powers, where he kind of shoots back twice and 7 guards fall.
The worst one ever, because I rewatched like Star Wars the other day, the Stormtroopers. I'm like, for fuck's sake, you can't hit a barn door.
Bumbling idiots.
And then Han Solo just gets his gun and just goes, boom. Dead, like.
Yeah, it's plot armour, isn't it? It's
just
like, we want you to live, so you're just going to somehow survive this.
So they get through that, somehow, beating up all the birds. Like,
and who's your favourite gang? Like, what's your favourite set piece so far?
Do you reckon... Second question, do you reckon the Warriors had been drinking Stella before they went into that?
Do you know what? Slapping the women around.
Yeah.
They do, but that is the thing though, like, it's funny, like, that is like there's a weird hierarchy of what's... It's kind of like the way you can show horrific violence, but people get more weirded out by something sexual.
Mate,
It's funny how, like, the Warriors are or the characters they're criminals who are committing horrific violent acts.
Yeah.
Killing people in some cases, but then you'll be like, oh, you'll be a bit more shocked that they get a bit like rapey or they hit a woman, but it's like they're volatile people. But is that weird sort of thing where certain types of violence are just seen nearly as cartoonish and fine?
To be honest, I've seen this film a load of times, and like, to be honest, I was quite because I don't remember them just lamping the woman across the room. Like,
but they are the bad guys. They're not good. They're the bad guys that you follow.
Yeah, true.
They're not even anti-heroes.
Well, they're the underdogs at this point. Everyone's chasing them.
Well, they're out to get them. But
Yeah.
they are bad people with bad intentions. Like, if Cyrus didn't die, they were going to do terrible things. Like, they're bad people.
True.
But they're just the ones you're following. It's,
Yeah.
It's like when, you want to be the bad guys sometimes in the video game
Yeah,
that you're playing. Like, you don't want to always be the good guys.
So they get out.
But they are pieces of shit.
Well, these are gangs, aren't they? So yeah.
Yeah, they're pieces of shit. Like, they are scumbags. Like, they're not...
Yeah.
But it's just fun. They're the scumbags that you get most invested in the movie.
So what happens? They get out of this. They somehow get out of Lizzie's. I think one of them gets stabbed or something in the arm, which is kind of pointless.
I remember.
And then the next thing I kind of remember about the film, there's a good fight sequence in a toilet.
Oh yeah, so that's with the rollerblade gangs. And it is kind of like, if you wanted, it felt like, because there was obviously loads of gangs on the screen that you see at different times.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a lot of the extras, some of them were actual real gang members. But it feels like if you wanted to actually get real screen time with the Warriors and get a fight with the Warriors, you had to have some sort of weird prop. Yeah. Like, you had to be like the Baseball Furies or the Rollerblade Gang. What were they called? Like the Roller Devils?
I don't even know what they are, but imagine if you was going through an underpass in Croydon and some geezer just skated up to you and was like, give me your money. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, it'd be like the worst. Unless your plan is go downhill and grab the purse as you're skating past them, or sneak in the wallet and then keep rolling. It's like, that's the worst possible. Because the moment he said that, you just put one foot behind it and give him the slight push.
It reminded me of that Peep Show where he goes through the underpass. He's like, give me your wallet. And he's like, all right. Like, just gives it to him. Like, oh, you've been mugged, Mark. Like, I would not be intimidated in any way. Like, a guy coming into you in a vest with rollerblades, I'd be like, sorry?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, it was so corny.
Anyway.
They go into the toilets and they, as they do, he kind of waits in there with deodorant or something and just sprays it in his eyes.
They kind of like lock themselves in, don't they?
Also, so the chick character, what's her name? Mercy. She's been with him for a little while now. Did you like her in the movie?
No, she's a little bitch, man.
Didn't like her. I actually did I didn't not like her character. I did find her annoying in the story because you do kind of just like when she first gets introduced and she's getting screen time. Part of you is just like, I just want to see the Warriors like escaping and stuff and getting into fights. But I do like the point she kind of carries, and I like the scenes that she has with
well, they say to her, like, don't start trouble, you whore. Well, she did start trouble, number one.
Yeah, she had some nice scenes. I liked when Swan's like, you shouldn't be living like that, you know?
Yeah.
Sleeping with these guys.
Yeah,
she's like, well, what the fuck? Like, my life's shit like yours. What am I supposed to do? I want to have some fun, blah, blah, blah. And, the scene later where they're on the subway and there's that couple of kids that have just come from their prom or something, or like a night out, and they're just clearly like they're nice, like middle class sort of kids, and they kind of like they're looking at him, and it's that sort of different side of the tracks, like how your life could have turned out differently, sort of thing. And he has a nice little exchange with her where he picks up the what do you call it? It's that American thing that they
put
on
bow or tash or something.
It's like the prom
flower
thing that the guys buy for their dates, and he picks it up and goes to put it on her, And she's like, I don't want that, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't like seeing anything go to waste.
Yeah.
And he's talking about that, but he's talking about also her. And kind of the whole way he's through the movie, he's giving her advice that, you don't want to go down this way, you don't want to be stupid, like, do something with your life.
For some reason, that scene, like, I got immediate flashbacks to, remember, like, in the Joker...
Oh, yeah.
When they're kind of like on the thing and there's the businessman. I don't know, and then he's like just laughing uncontrollably. Like, I don't know, it's just a New York subway kind of thing. But
yeah, well, also Death Wish.
Yeah, it's like they're rich, these guys are like the other end of the spectrum. But obviously Joker ended up like murdering all of them, so like...
But again, it's kind of watching it this time, I was a bit like... From their perspective, they got on the train and then these weirdos are just staring at them.
Mate, they love getting on trains.
It's not their fault they had like a nice night out. And got yourself into a gang warfare. But anyway, so like I don't mind a character. I think her character being annoying in the movie in general, is worth it for that scene. Because I like paying for that scene. But anyway, so going back, they bust out the toilets and beat the shit out of the rollerblade guys.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I never really remember that sequence too well, because I feel like by that point in the movie, I've seen a couple of set pieces, I've seen a couple of gang fights. You're kind of getting used to that bit. I'm kind of ready for it to transition into the final act.
Yeah, to be honest, Declan, I found... What's her name, the girl?
Mercy.
I found her quite annoying, I'm not going to lie. Like, she had a little bit of character development, but I felt like she just was a token, like, romantic interest kind of thing. And
yeah.
I'm going to do a comparison here with one of the most annoying characters that I think has ever been put on film.
Okay.
Do you know in Indiana Jones 2, there's that girl that he's going out with. All she does the whole film is scream and go, Indy! Indy!
I can't be honest. Like, I'll roll with your thing just for you to make your point, but I've got to put the asterisk here of I never found her annoying. I always liked her. I also never found a little Japanese sidekick annoying. Everyone hates him as well, apparently.
I
loved both
of them.
He
was in Goonies.
I thought they were... Yeah, exactly, yeah. But anyway, sorry, keep going with your point.
Well, that was just my main point, like...
You just found her annoying.
Like what? Like,
you just found her unnecessary, I suppose.
Look, basically, they meet her on a... Well, they meet her trying to get home, don't they? They meet her on a night out, and she's with the orphans.
Yeah.
And then, like, all of a sudden, it seems like she just wants to go with basically the most macho people, because obviously they, like, beat him up and she's like,
yeah, because, do you know what,
I'll go with you.
There's not really... Yeah, because there isn't a clear reason she starts following him.
Yeah.
But it doesn't not work.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It does just kind of... Whatever way they do it, it kind of does feel organic.
Yeah.
But anyway, fuck her. Let's get down to the meat of it. So, they manage to get home... And they make it back to Coney Island?
Coney Island.
Coney Island.
They've got the coolest place, by the way. They live on the beach.
Yeah. Which is so cool. So, because you always forget they're not actually a New York gang.
Yeah. You've been to New York as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, it's quite weird, like, you've got, like, a full city. Then you've got places like Central Park in the middle of it. That's a side point. But you go a bit out of the way and then you get to like beaches and stuff. Like it's quite a cool place. Like
yeah, but I mean, would you even call that by like the distances? You may as well be like, wow, it's cool. You get out of London and then you're in Bournemouth on the beach.
I would like to know how far Coney Island is from New York. To be honest,
it's probably far enough. Like
yeah.
I guarantee in terms of actual time getting there. Actually, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm saying it with such confidence. Anyway, so they get there, and Luther, a.k.a. the guy that gets thrown off the cliff from Commando, he shows up in their truck. And also, I love how every single car is just covered in graffiti.
Yeah.
Like the truck earlier in the movie is covered in graffiti.
Kind of like Mad Max stylish.
Yeah.
Like driving about.
Yeah. So he shows up, banging those bottles together.
Oh, mate.
Rattling them together. And they notice him. They start, like, arming themselves to the teeth. And Mercy still won't fuck off. She's like, let me fight as well.
Yeah, you see me. I punched the rollerblade guy.
Yeah, he's just that way.
Right.
And he just kind of goes, okay, come on.
Yeah.
So they show up, and he improvised that line as well, where he's saying, "Warriors."
Mate, one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard.
Yeah, apparently.
Come out to play.
Apparently, it was like a neighbourhood bully on his street.
Right.
When he was growing up, he used to say that. That used to be his taunt to people.
Oh, like, come out to
play.
play.
Come out to play. So he improvised that line, which is that's what we were saying earlier about things you think of straight away when you think about a movie and the Warriors.
Oh yeah, straight away.
That line, absolutely, man, best line in the whole movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So they had their little standoff on the beach, and it's a weird moment because you have Swan, aka War Chief at this point. Swan, they had their little standoff, and he offers them out 1-on-1, and Luther, who I'm pretty sure is supposed to be a cokehead, right? Because he doesn't have any real goals or purpose. He's just a maniac. He doesn't even kill Cyrus for any reason at the start. He says, "It's just something I like to do."
I was wondering.
I love that he had no he's just like, I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like I just don't get why. Basically, they hate each other, the Warriors, and
yeah. Well, I got the impression that he's they're another I can't say that name. Coney Island gang, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and tried to set them up. And basically, what I got from it, Declan, is these guys have had skirmishes quite a lot of times, and the Warriors always end up like just destroying them. So they're like, how can we like get rid of them, basically, so we can own the turf? So
yeah, it is.
Set up a murder.
It's a really detailed sort of mini universe.
Yeah,
because there is so many things you just kind of have to assume from the way characters act around each other. But it does feel like there's this big history of how they relate to all the other gangs.
He's Luther's just a loser, basically.
He's brilliant. He's completely out of his fucking mind.
He goes to the news agents and just like throws chocolate bars at people, and like he would bring like an Indiana Jones kind of thing. He would bring a gun to a knife fight, basically. Yeah. Which
he brings
which
the gun.
He did.
That's what he does, right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're on the beach, and it's kind of weird because Swan offers him out 1-on-1. Let's do this 1-on-1, and he sort of goes 1-on-1, and then doesn't really say anything else. Then just pulls out a gun, and he's like, "You're all gonna die," and no one really moves. Like no one. Everyone just stands there as he's about to shoot. And Swan pulls out his little switchblade and throws it.
Yeah.
Doesn't even move, but just somehow doesn't get shot.
Yeah.
And then he takes the gun off him, and he does one of the best screams.
He goes into his arm. He goes, "Wah!"
He's a weird little I think it looks so weird because the screams in normal time. But he's in sort of falling in slow motion, but it's not that slow motion, so it just looks really bizarre and surreal.
I mean, I watched this yesterday in prep for this podcast, and I kind of like looked at my phone at something because a message came in at this exact point, and then the scream came, and I was like, "Fuck! What was that?" Like, it blew my head off. It was so high pitched, like.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. And then the riffs show up, which, by the way, I loved. I never noticed before, but I loved how much... Because, like, the official, I guess, who's taken over leadership of the riffs is that the guy who's kind of... It looks like they were modelled a bit on the Black Panthers, like the style of them. They got the leather jackets and the sunglasses. Yeah. But they use the reflection of his sunglasses in every shot he's in then.
Yeah.
When he's on the beach, you can see the Warriors and Luther's gang standing off in the reflection of his sunglasses, and it features a lot. I just really liked how they use that. But yeah, the riffs show up, and they have that great. Actually, this is my favourite line in the movie when he goes. He says like to the Warriors, "You're not bad," and Swan goes, "The best."
The best, yeah.
And they walk off. I was like, yes.
We probably should point out, Declan, that earlier on in the film. Someone goes up to the riffs and says it wasn't the Warriors.
Oh yeah, I think he was just a random. I don't know if if you rewatched that scene, you'd notice him. But I think he was just a random gang member who
and he was like, they didn't do it, and then obviously the riffs just turn up, and the riffs seem to be they seem to have numbers after numbers.
Yeah, well, they say that they're the biggest gang in New York.
And then basically, like, Luther's squirming about, going,
yeah, and
like
and he's like, no,
the
Warriors.
It was the Warriors, believe me. And then obviously you just see the riffs advancing. I wonder if they killed the other like backup people who were just standing up behind him.
Oh yeah, they definitely killed them all.
And they like.
But it's funny how his performance is so good and the character's so good. Like when you think about like screen time, like the other black character of the Warriors, I have no idea what his name is. Can't really remember anything about him. The other curly haired character, can't really remember anything about him.
Yeah.
Like they're probably in the movie for like 50 minutes. Luther's probably in the movie for probably even less. Like it's mainly it's mainly that final sequence he's actually has any real screen time. And Sirius has about 5 minutes screen time, and you remember them so much.
Yeah, like it's just basically it's just as you said, it's like just set pieces of classic sayings. So like Cyrus, can you dig it?
Yeah, there's so many.
Dig it?
Can you dig it?
And then obviously our friend Luther, everyone remembers it. Even like because I watched it on Now TV, and like you know they show like a little blurb of like what happens in the film. At the end of it just goes, Warriors come out to play.
And even some of the like lesser lines, like when they first see Mercy, and he says, "You know what that is? Trouble."
Yeah.
Like it's just so many. So it's funny when you try and redo the line, you realise why actors get paid so much.
Can I just ask another question? Like going back to, I'm gonna call him Boxer Guy because I can't remember his name.
Ajax.
He gets.
Why do you call him Boxer Guy, by the way?
Because he's got like two. Like,
oh, okay.
He's got like two thumbless gloves.
Right.
Which beats people up. He kind of gets locked to like a. The way he gets rid of is locked to like a bench, doesn't it?
No, he gets a. Well, he gets
like he's chatting to a bird.
Well, he tries to rape a bird.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, she's sort of like interested. She's pretending to be interested at first. And then he just fucking goes, like, there's no foreplay, there's no stroking the leg, chatting to her, like, he goes full in, and she starts saying no, and at that point, it's basically he's attempting a rape, and then it turns out she's an undercover cop.
Right, okay, I get you. And this was, like, in a park, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
Just locks him, and then the police...
So really that was like a honey trap, and not a honey trap, entrapment.
So basically, they just lost their best fighter
through him being a dickhead, and it was nice that it was a woman cop capturing him as well.
Yeah, so that's quite cool as well.
Yeah. So, what was your favourite moments in the movie?
I don't want to say like the standard ones. Of,
say
like,
whatever you want.
You
say the obvious ones.
Or come out to play. I just really like. In my opinion, my favourite moment is the introduction of the Baseball Furies. When you don't see them, you just hear the like bat dragging along the ground.
Yeah.
And then it like pans up to them, and they're all in the makeup, and I'm like, these guys look cool, but in the end, they're quite shit.
Yeah.
What about yours?
I love the whole film, but I loved the opening speech with Sirius.
Yeah.
The opening melee where he gets shot and everyone's running about. I love the final sequence with the exchange between Swan and new leader of the Riffs. There's every scene where they're running away or trying to escape in New York and they're getting split up, and just the whole movie.
Do you know what? I'd have to say those.
Also, this is a random observation,
Go on.
but when Mercy's first introduced and she does the chicken impression, I want to know if that was really her doing it or that was just a chicken sound effect, because that was like the best chicken.
I reckon it's a chicken.
It was the best chicken impression I've ever heard.
I've got to say another moment I have a soft spot for those loser orphan boys, man.
Yeah, so did I.
Saddos, like.
I remember liking it. I actually found them really annoying when I watched it this time. I remember always kind of liking that bit in the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was just it added more to the whole little weird world this is, where it's like there were some gangs that didn't get invited.
Yeah.
Because they're just losers.
Yeah,
and they're just fucking pieces of shit.
They're just like hanging up on top of buildings, like spying on people instead of fighting.
Yeah, and I wanted to know, like, are they orphans? Do you have to be an orphan to get in the gang?
I think it's just a name, like.
Or is it just... See, I always took it as they were orphans.
Well, yeah, they're kind of like running around in buildings.
Because otherwise,
like
that's the worst name for a gang.
Yeah.
Give yourself the orphans.
Better name would have been the Lost Boys.
Or would your gang be?
Oh, that's a good question, man. What would yours be? Well, it has to go by. It has to go by. It doesn't really have to go by area, to be honest.
All right, no, I'll go by area. I'll go the Enfield Cobblers.
The gang names now are rubbish, like the N9 Boys,
Yeah,
or something like
Blazing
postcode.
Squad.
Yeah. Like, it sounds like a bloody thing.
The EN2 Massive.
I would go. To be honest, I would go. The Fox Fighters or something.
Oh,
the Fox the Fox Furies. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That would be sick, and in it will be like me, us lot, like just drinking Guinness, like flipping dimes, watching. If someone goes to the Alfred Erin, you're in our turf, boy.
Yeah, you'd be hanging out where that old nightclub used to be, alleyway.
Flipping
a coin.
dimes, like you're in our turf, boys. Yeah, probably the Fox Furies, actually. Yeah.
What would you think of remake sequels
of this?
A TV show, like what would you love? Like I was saying earlier, I'd love to see a TV series in that universe, either just as it is, or following the Warriors, or where Sirius never got shot and we see what that would have looked like, or just following it. Anything. Like, what would you like to see?
Number one, I would never like to see a remake.
Fair enough.
I'm just trying to think of remakes that failed so terribly that I think this would fail terribly on. And the one that springs to my mind is the Josh Brolin remake of Old Boy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pick the worst
one,
you can find, then fair enough.
But
that one did stink.
But, Declan, I really think a HBO TV miniseries of this could be very good, in my opinion.
Of what, though? Just recreating this story, or just in the universe?
I'm kind of thinking of I don't know if you saw the Watchmen TV series.
Yeah, I fucking hated that shit.
You hated it. But it was a good idea at the same time, so
In what sense?
Well, it was set in the future, wasn't it? Mr. Manhattan.
No, but I'm saying, are you saying it was a good idea, the idea they had was good? Or it was a good idea to try and go in that universe?
Yeah, basically.
Which one, though? The second one?
I know. I personally think the idea was good, but the way they made it wasn't...
So you think the concept of this series, the storyline of the series was good?
Yes.
I don't know. I suppose it was alright. It was kind of... I think... It was... Sorry, go on, finish your point.
Well, no, I just think personally, I don't know why you hate it. I actually didn't mind it. I just thought it was dreadfully slow at some points.
But the execution and the acting,
and
the writing in terms of the actual script, I remember the plot was sort of about white supremacy and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the overall idea they were taking it, I might have liked it. It's hard to tell because what I saw was so terribly done. Like the execution was terrible, the dialogue was awful, and and just corny and just poorly done, and it didn't even seem like I don't know how big the budget was, but it didn't seem like it was even well directed, or the production values
the
were
budget
very
was
good.
huge.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it was. It just seemed poorly done. Every step of the way.
I think, to be honest, Declan, you've hit the nail on the head. If it's going to be a TV series, I think the best idea, you've hit the nail on the head, would be Cyrus surviving, and then what happened after that. Would the cops be overrun?
Well, you could do endless. You don't even need to follow the Warriors. like it could have a different name. It could be called the Baseball Furies.
Yeah.
You follow them knocking them out. It could be anything, and then you can just come up with new gangs and do it endlessly. You could do a version of it in LA.
Yeah.
With completely different gangs.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just do it everywhere. Like you do whatever you want.
But a kind of like, I'm not going to say shot for shot remake, but a kind of like remake of the film in general. That's got to be put off the cards.
It's just not. Yeah, it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
Like it's actually. I'm not a huge fan of this new trend, where streaming services, especially, are basically buying the rights to Disney. It's not Disney, not technically a streaming service, but they bought the right to Star Wars, and now you have 30 different Star Wars shows arriving.
Yeah,
on Netflix. And I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it is better than that feels like the next step in the evolution of the current filmmaking trends. The next step after that feels like a direct step from the trend of remaking everything. And if they're gonna just tap into old established movie universes and brands essentially, then at least we're getting new content. Yeah. Rather than just rehashes of old stuff. So I actually think in this, if someone was going to do something with the Warriors, then you wouldn't get a remake, you would get a TV show. It's kind of like there's just, I mean, they did remake Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But there's no point remaking Karate Kid, but someone taking the Karate Kid idea and universe and making a TV show out of it, Cobra Kai. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's genius. And that is what you can do. And I feel like if it happened now with the Warriors, it would end up as a TV show.
That's a very good example, to be honest. That's probably a perfect example.
Yeah.
I just feel like the studios are just running out of ideas. It's even now.
I don't even think
an origin story or a remake of something.
I don't think it's so much that. I think they've got so good at they just know the formulas of subtracting as much money out of the market as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And they know exactly how to do it. And actually saying that, they don't all know how to do it. Like the middle of the road movie, like a 50 million budget movie, like that kind of doesn't exist anymore. It's really hard to make money that way. So it's all about huge spectacle. And Disney and Marvel and they've just so dominated the box office. Because if you say a lot, like other companies, I can't remember who owns the rights to Godzilla and King Kong and all that, but they tried to get franchises going and they failed.
Was decent.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the modern one.
That was all right.
That was brilliant. I love that.
Was actually quite good.
But I'm talking about they tried the Monsterverse. They tried to create the Monsterverse and get that going and create a rival to that. But Marvel, Disney, the streaming giants, they've got it so wrapped up where they know. It's the same reason that Disney. This is a better way of making the point. The same reason why Disney will turn Netflix into the MySpace of the streaming giants.
Yeah,
it's going to die and wither away, and everyone will be like, "Oh, do you remember when that was the main one that everyone had? That was the first big one." Disney has all these established brand names they can tap into. Netflix has to recreate them. Most of the time, it has to create their own from scratch. Most of the time, they flop. Every now and then, they get Stranger Things. Disney has
true.
Star Wars they can plunder into, all their old Disney cartoons and famous animations they can tap into. They have all the Pixar things they can tap into and create, TV shows and spin-off shows out of those. And they have all these established movie iconic motifs you can already recognise. You don't need to get lured in by an advertising campaign and clever marketing. You see Buzz Lightyear and you're like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I know what that is already. I know it's like the difference between you walk in to an off license, you fancy a fizzy drink, you look at 100 things on the wall, but all you really see is a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi in the film, because those are the ones that are ingrained into your head.
The thing
and they know that, and they think, what's the point? Like, why make a new movie? Why try and make everything now is just tapping in, or a sequel, or the 9th movie in this franchise, or can't remember my final point.
But I refused to see the Lion King remake. I was like,
I've never watched it.
The original will not be beaten. There's no point of this thing. Like
Joe was weird.
That was one example.
Joe was actually weirder about it. Is they didn't try and change it. It was shot for shot.
I know.
Like, to the point where I could remember some of the more like memorable visually shots in the old one, and I was like, that's literally the shot.
They just made it CGI. Like, that's what they've done.
Yeah, and it was pretty soulless as a result.
I know.
It was pretty shit.
That film is a classic. Like Elton John's, Can You Feel the Love? And also
what song?
Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Elton
Keep
John.
singing that?
No. And secondly, like you had classic like characters, like wasn't Jeremy Irons Scar?
I actually can't remember the cast. I'm sure it's amazing.
The little flying thing, the birds, was Rowan Atkinson. Like,
how was it?
Yeah, like it was just genius. Like,
so what's funny? Sometimes when you don't know those obvious, that
Yeah.
nearly ruins it for you when you find them out.
Because you know Robin Williams was Genie, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's a different film, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Robin Williams, what a G. But yeah, so yeah, because I always wondered why The Warriors wasn't more iconic than it was, because it's kind of more influential than iconic. You know, when something becomes so iconic, you can't copy it that much.
Right.
Like for instance, the Baseball Furies was the direct influence for Kiss.
Right. Okay.
But when I saw Baseball Furies, I was like, they're sort of supposed to be like Kiss. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, Kiss are the iconic thing. Because they're so known and so kind of like a thing of popular culture that you can't really copy them, because it would be... You'd just be like, that's copying Kiss. Whereas you have to be a bit more under the radar and maybe not as well known to be influential.
I mean, I would call, in its current form, The Warriors as a cult classic more than anything.
Yeah, well, it was actually... I think it was pretty successful on its release.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think it got pulled out because it started off number 1, but there was a lot of gang violence in the cinemas.
Yeah.
In the theatres when that was showing it. Last question: did you ever play the video game?
I was gonna bring this up the whole time. The one on PS2.
What a fucking game!
You can't get it now. It's impossible. Like, you can't buy it now because it's so rare, because it's just such a classic game. It was...
What a game, man.
What was it again? Like, you just started
it was
fighting
It was kind of like a free roam, but not quite. It was more mission heavy.
Yeah.
But basically, it felt like Grand Theft Auto,
GTA,
but you were the Warriors.
Like, so... I'm not going to lie, I didn't even ever play it. I've only ever watched...
I never owned it. I played it around somene's house one day. I never had a PS2.
You just go around and be like...
So basically, it was imagine Grand Theft Auto, but you were in the Warriors, but you would level up on street cred and things like that. And you'd go around, you obviously constantly getting into other fights of other gangs. And I think you were a character, all the Warriors characters were in there, but you played a new character that wasn't in the film, who's like the newest guy who's joining the gang.
You just go around like side quests.
Like, and you're like proving yourself. To be honest, I played it for like 2 hours and I was 10, but it was fucking great.
Do you know there was once a Scarface game on PS2?
Yeah, but I know all the good games were on PS2.
It was actually jokes. It was like, you go around and like you go up to the dealers to pick up your coke, and you go and deliver it, and the cops would chase you, and like you'd run around and like leveling up in all the suits. It was actually a really good game. Like it got absolutely panned, but it was a fucking class game, man.
We should do a games podcast sometime.
Mate, I'd love to.
But anyway, Warriors, thumbs up.
Thumbs up from me. Classic film. I don't think it's one of those films where I don't think there's much wrong with it at all, or just anything wrong with it.
No, I wouldn't change a thing. Warts and all.
Would I.
It's part of the
Apart
charm.
from his comic book thing that I can see right here.
Well, that was a change. So let's talking about the original. Not a thing I would change.
No,
I love
same.
it.